Hello and welcome to this What's New session on what is new in B1 Usability Package 5.2. My name is Rasmus Jensen and I'll be taking you through the most important features. The 5.2 release is one of 4 major updates during the year of 2012, and in total we have more than 40 new bigger and smaller features. So we can't go through every single one of them in this session, so please see the release notes for more information about every single thing, but here comes the most important features. First major new feature I'd like to share with you is the new option to use the silent installer support. In 8.82, add-ons became aware of being able to be installed silently, and this is the new default with the installer.rd. If you want to install the old way, you can still do that and get a GUI representation of the installer and choose where you want to install it. But if you just want it in the default installation part, run the installer.rd. If you're not running 8.82 yet, choosing between the two doesn't really matter. The same thing will happen, so it's only for 8.82. The reason for we are going to silent installer as default is that you, in that regard, does not need to run as administrator anymore in order to install, and everything goes directly into the system without any user interaction, so much easier upgrade scenarios. Because of the move to a new silent installer option as default, we have now changed the procedures in how to show you the end user license agreement. Instead of showing it during installation, where it's now silent, we show it the first time you run Business One without any new metadata. If you want to see it before that, the end user license agreement also is located in the installation folder now, and the first time you need to accept this one if it's an upgrade, or if it's an entire new installation, the end user license agreement will be part of the startup wizard. We will, however, not nag you with this screen every single time you upgrade to a new version of Usability Package. The end user license agreement will only be shown again if there's actually changes to it, so you also in that way get a notification if something have changed. Next up we have that we now support Russian localization. We can now run the Business One Usability Package in the Russian language, as you can see here, and of course the entire system. Moving on, we now support trusted connections for SQL connections. We do that both in the database information used in Crystal reports in the main product, and also of course in the server component as well. This major feature is there due to the fact that we need to be able to be SAP Business One on-demand ready, and this is a requirement for add-ons in order to be certified for on-demand. It will default still be SA username and password, but you can use the Windows authentication throughout the system now. Next, we have the new features for the different modules. And we begin with B1 Print and Delivery, where we now have new designs of all new Crystal report layouts. So a more out-of-the-box, user-friendly, sales-friendly layout that you of course can edit as you please. A bonus to that is that the viewers now have the option to directly email from the preview as well. Another major new feature in B1 Print and Delivery is also the new SQL keyword. This keyword essentially makes it possible for you to write anything in the body of an report action email. In the past we only had a few different keywords and the dynamic syntax, but now you can use SQL colon, start parenthesis, your SQL, and in parenthesis, so you can essentially get any single piece of information. If you can write it in SQL, you can get it here. As an example here I have a sales order where I actually check the balance from the business partner, which is not on the screen we have right now. so we can take it from SQL and end up with it in our emails. It can also be used in the subject, the attachments, and so on. Moving on to universal function, one of the features who have received the most new options is the SQL Report. The SQL Report have received a few wizards, making it much easier to work with the format, and as in the next slide we'll see also the variables. The format have always been a string with a special syntax, but many people didn't know how that syntax worked and they didn't know all the options. So now there's a wizard button that essentially takes the strange code here and turns it into much user-friendly and much more discoverable features. A new feature has also come along where you can actually set the column title now. This means that you don't need to specify the column title as the as keyword in the SQL anymore, and you can actually also use spaces in the column titles, which you couldn't in the past. So much easier to work with the format. Also, the SQL variables, which are these, is now possible to be set via a wizard. In the past, there again was a special syntax that you needed to know, and many people didn't know that you could actually specify a lot of different options in here. So now we put in this wizard, you just press it, and it converts the syntax into a user interface. You can add the different options you want and paste it back into the new wizard syntax. Final feature I would like to highlight today is that we now have also a lot of additional right-click functionality, or right-click that make it easier to get to your configurations. So, for example, directly from Business Partner, you can now go to the toolbox configuration and the default data configuration, while in Quick Create you can go to the configuration, and in the universal function you can actually go to the universal function configuration for that specific SQL report. So this makes it much simpler. Instead of going to administration and all the sub-menus, you can now go directly from the system, more or less every place you are in Business One. Finally, as always, this release is now ready for download at www.boyum-it.com/sbo. Thanks for attending.